Well, the United Nations mission in South Sudan is being criticized by the UN Secretary General, the United States and others for not taking action during the outbreak of violence in Juba in July. VOA's Jill Craig recently accompanied an Ethiopian detachment of UNMISS during a patrol in Juba to protect civilians.
It's another hot day here in Juba, and an Ethiopian battalion has just begun its afternoon patrol of a UN Protection of Civilians, or POC camp, housing about 39,000 internally displaced people, or IDPs.
After July crisis, the accomplishment of the patrol is increased from day to day. So there is no interruption, night and day. There is no interruption.
Increased patrols are among the new procedures put in place after an investigation found that UN personnel failed to protect civilians and aid workers during the July violence in Juba. More than an estimated 300 people were killed. Rapes, looting, and other attacks also took place. An UNMISS spokeswoman says more watchtowers have been installed and a weapons-free zone has been created on the periphery. Patrols now escort women to collect firewood in response to concerns about an increase in sexual violence against civilians around the POC site, despite the presence of peacekeepers.
These days, I am able to go outside. But in those days, when there was conflict here, I was unable to go outside.
But another IDP argues that life is still quite grim.
For example, we don't have enough water, we don't have enough food, security is not very okay, and life is actually very terrible. Kids don't go to school, elderly people are dying because there's no good medical services.
The government argues that the United Nations has overstepped its mandate by establishing POC sites for what it calls fundraising purposes.
And if there are people who are living on these people, if you remove them, then you have deprived them of their livelihood. This is how I understand it. This is not correct. We want all these people to be taken to their home areas. If they are unable to provide the protection, will they assemble all the people of South Sudan in the POCs so that they protect them?
The United Nations says the protection of civilian sites were never intended to become permanent. It also says its force is limited by freedom of movement challenges around the country. There are 6 POC sites in South Sudan, hosting about 224,000 IDPs. The UNMISS force is comprised of about 12,000 peacekeeping troops and police, and is still waiting on the deployment of an additional 4,000. Jill Craig, VOA News, Juba.